Hey there, in this video we're going to cover how to fix an anterior pelvic tilt, which is a form of bad posture. So this right here is good posture because the hips, pelvis, and lumbar are all in line. The hips aren't too far forward or too far back, and the lower back, the lumbar is straight. Now this right here would be known as an anterior pelvic tilt because the hips are too far back and the lumbar, the lower back, is arched, so it's not straight. You can see that the angle of the pelvis here is around 150 degrees instead of 180 degrees. Right here, you can see that the angle of the pelvis is 180 degrees, and the lumbar, pelvis, and hips is all a straight line, which is what we want. So to fix this, you're going to need to strengthen your rectus abdominis and transverse abdominis. You're going to also need to strengthen your gluteus maximus. You're going to need to foam roll and stretch your erector spinae and your hip flexors. So to stretch the hip flexors, you want to first find a wall to hang on to. And then you want to get on one knee, move that foot in front of you, pretty far in front of you, to give you the opportunity to move both those hips in front of you. So that's the next thing you want to do. You want to move both those hips out as far as you can in front of you, and you want to do the best you can to keep that lower back straight. That lower back is really gonna want to arch a ton, but you want to try to push those hips out in front of you and not arch that lower back. So notice right here how I'm kind of like pushing that hip out forward with my hand. So this is really going to help so we get as much hip extension as possible without that lumbar extending. So to stretch your erector spinae, you're going to want to kind of move those feet up and over your head like that. So the legs and feet up and over your head. And you want to get that lumbar to round as much as possible. So just like this right here. You should feel this stretch on like 2 columns of the lower back, and those 2 columns are like between the spine. That's your erector spinae muscle, so you should feel that stretch right there. If you don't feel that stretch there, I would suggest not to do this one because there's a lot of things that can go wrong with this one. The hips could be flexed too much with limited flexion in the lumbar. Also, the thoracic could just flex way too much, and the lumbar would not get that much flexion because you're getting up there all through thoracic flexion if you have a bad upper cross syndrome. So to strengthen the rectus abdominis, we need to get as much flexion in the lumbar under active tension. So how we're going to do this here is do an isometric hold crunch like this here. So when doing this one, make sure that lumbar, the lower back here, rounds as much as possible to help you get up while keeping the feet flat on the ground pointing straight ahead and the knees pointing straight ahead. You should feel this exercise here in the abs. Do not let the feet come off the ground like I'm doing there. Do not let those feet slide out in front of you and extend the knees like I'm doing right there. Do not move the knees in and let them touch each other like I'm doing right there. And do not flex the cervical a ton like this. Really make sure you're actually getting those shoulder blades off the ground. So to hit the transverse abdominis, we're going to do a plank here. So form is key here. You got to keep that lumbar straight. You got to keep that lower back straight. You cannot let those hips move up in the air like this and let that lower back arch. If you do this wrong here and let those hips move up in the air, this is going to be a hip flexor workout, and you're going to make your anterior pelvic tilt worse. So keep that lower back straight. Stop this exercise if you cannot do it with proper form. Now to strengthen the glutes, we're going to do cable hip thrusters. So it's very important that the only thing that moves forward here is the hips. As the hips extend, the lower back here should be slightly rounded so we can inhibit that erector spinae and focus on training the gluteus maximus through hip extension and posterior pelvic tilt. In the future, I'm going to come out with a video on how to fix upper cross syndrome, so this posture here, and how to fix a posterior pelvic tilt, that posture there. So if any of those videos interest you, make sure you hit that subscribe button and you hit that bell so you get notified when I come out with those videos. So for more information on how to fix an anterior pelvic tilt, watch my lower back posture video and my hip posture video. And just for more information on posture in general, just go to my posture playlist here and go through these videos right here.